Chicago, where the fire serve cold, but the Wolves and the Hawks never shiver in the snow. The Bulls keep it running, the Sox run the South, the Cubs run the North, but the Bears run the house. True Chicago sports fans got their ears to the street. Any team make a move and they never skip a beat. And in this house, this is where we be. Welcome to the show with E-Roc and Big Z.
Welcome to Chicago, coming to you from the True Chicago Sports Fan Cave. This is the TCSF podcast with your hosts E-Roc and Big Z.
Yeah.
We are brought to you in part by Anchor, Noir Caesar, and Villain Radio Studios. Episode 11. Wow, E. We made it past 10 episodes. Who would have thought we'd be here, man?
I did.
Did you?
But yeah, no, for real, like, we want to give a shout out to everyone who's been there supporting us, our producer, our sponsors, the whole TCSF family, Serge, Mike, Chris, George, and of course Z, man. I got to give you a shout out for your help getting this thing off the ground.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. I mean, it's been my pleasure. This has been so much fun, and every week it's getting better, bigger. And dude, the amount of laughs I'm having, I haven't had this much fun in such a long time. We shoot the you-know-what all day, and when it comes to Sundays, we get down, brother.
You know, and I was telling you this personally, like when we were talking about this earlier today, we knew each other back in the day, but we didn't hang out that much.
No, we hang out in different circles, but we knew each other, of each other and all that stuff, right?
Right, and the thing was, it was like, I was nervous because I know that, I can be a little bit of a crawl on people's sides. You could just ask our producer about that, But I was worried. I was like, man, are we really going to be able to get along?
No, man. I mean, we're both cut from almost the same kind of cloth.
Oh, yeah.
We grew up in the same neighborhood pretty much. I mean, you grew up like about a mile away, if anything.
If that.
I mean, you went to grammar school at Sabin. I went to Jose Diego.
Right, yeah.
And then we
Which is a block away from each other.
Yeah. So, and then we ended up at Lane Tech, and look where we're at now, man.
So yeah, I mean, it's been very cohesive. We found our chemistry. So I hope y'all out there listening are enjoying what I'm doing. And to everyone who's showing us love and support, we love y'all too. This is episode 11, but next episode will be our 10th as a team. So we'll have to have a shot of tequila to celebrate, bro.
Yes, sir. Some Terramana. That's what we're drinking. We're drinking some Terramana tequila. So we're gonna tag the Rock. See if he says anything.
Let's go.
Let's go. All right, E. Week 2 of the Bear season is in the books. Should we look at adding Foles to the mix? What's your initial reaction to this Bears team so far?
Man, look, today, 2 tutties, 2 giveaways by Trubisky, under 100 yards. Now, some of that was by the receivers not catching the ball when they should have. There was definitely a drop pass in the end zone by Miller that should have been a touchdown.
It wasn't Miller time.
I just literally just told you I don't even like Miller. So
no.
I don't like Miller beers, so that's probably what happened. But they could have. It is definitely possible with a more polished quarterback, if you want to call Foles that, a more polished quarterback, that they could have scored some more points there.
Yeah, we know that the Foles is the veteran quarterback, the more polished quarterback. I think just in progression-wise is when you hike the ball and he knows what the play is. He's like, okay, 1, 2, 3, no, okay, throw it away or dump it off to somewhere that's going to try to get us some positive yards. And with Mitch, it's like 1, 2, oh crap, what do I do?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give him a lot of credit for being able to kind of figure it out today. He did have some decent passes. He had some good moves where he got out of the pocket, things like that. That pass, I think it was to the Rook in the beginning of the game. That was fire.
Yeah.
Mooney caught it, and when they tried to tackle him, he looked like he was like, "Yeah, you ain't got nothing on me.
No,
you ain't got nothing on me." So he caught it like a man.
Yeah, like a man,
full-grown man. So, I mean, look, you're gonna have your goods in the bad. You're gonna have good and bad, but don't forget, no preseason. A lot of moving parts in this offense. Jimmy Graham's new, Mooney's new, so let's see how it goes, man. Komet's new,
Yeah, I mean, they did. I think that they played a more of a complete game this game.
Yeah.
But what I'm looking at is Mitch is still not accurate. Mitch is
he won't ever be accurate the way we run into, because even that, and I said it while we were watching the game. What did I say? It looks like you got that wobbler.
Yeah, he throws a lot of ducks. He throws a lot of ducks that wobble, to the receivers.
Quack quack.
There we go. And I think he's not making his full progressions. He goes 1, 2, and then panics.
Yeah.
I think he holds on to the ball way too long.
Well, he had I think it was like 6.18 seconds to get that ball to Moody on that one play.
Right. I mean, if you can't score with 6, 7, whoa.
Hey now.
Oh, hey now, 6 or 7 seconds. I mean, you're getting Tom Brady time at that point.
Yeah.
You've got to make great plays with that amount of time. I think the running game has been magnificent.
Yeah,
I
it
think,
has definitely been much improved.
I mean, night and day from last season. And he's also, Nagy is mixing it up with different running backs.
Well, you had Montgomery that got 16 touches. You got Patterson that got 7 touches. You got Trubisky took his 4 scrambles, and Cohen got 5 touches. So, I mean, you're talking about Montgomery with 82, Patterson with 25, and Tariq Cohen with 12 yards. So, I mean, like, your average for your starter is 5.1 yards.
That's great.
That's pretty damn good.
That's great. And I just think the scheme. I know it's the Giants. They're not.
Right.
They're at the bottom of the barrel as far as NFL defensive and offensive. They're just at the bottom of the barrel. But mixing in 3 different running backs who have all 3 different styles.
Yeah.
I think it was great to give Mitch time because it mixed it up. Now teams
Right.
are not just going to sit back and be like, all right, Mitch, see what you can do, because you can't make past your first and second read, so you're not going to do anything to us.
Well, not to mention, on top of that, Montgomery did have 3 catches for 45 yards.
Right. So now, yeah, and that's great. You should be, if you have nothing, dump it off to the running back. He's the one that's
Right.
going to make all the plays for you. If he goes up the middle, you throw him a pitch, or you throw him a counter, whatever it is, he's going to go and do his thing. And that's what we're paying him to do. We want that running game.
Well, even when you look at it, let's pull it back even further. You got Tariq Cohen had a catch, Patterson had 2 catches, and Ryan Nall,
No.
he even got a catch. And it was a 2-yard catch, but still it was a catch. So he
That was
did.
a horrible, horrible catch.
But the point is that Trubisky is spreading the ball,
He is.
and he's not just laser focusing on one guy.
Yeah, but what did A-Rob do today?
Not great. He had 3 catches for 33 yards.
Okay, he's your number 1, right?
Technically,
Okay.
yes.
Well, he's your number 1. So if let's say you're talking about who's the number 1 in with the Cardinals?
Oh, the big boy.
Big boy, right?
You know what I mean? The guy who should never be in the Cardinals in the first place.
Yeah, that guy. So if he got 3 touches or 3 catches, you think he'd be happy?
No, but again, you're looking at a team game. So what you want, you got to look at different teams. For example, I'll give you a perfect example.
Sure.
You look at your boy Tom Brady's entire tenure in New England.
Mm-hmm.
You did aside from Moss, you never really had a star receiver.
No.
And he was spreading the ball all the time. You had Gronkowski. Okay, he's going to get his touches. You had Edelman.
Edelman,
You
right.
know what I mean? You had every white receiver that ever existed in the last 20 years was on the Patriots at some point. But the key to a good quarterback is not to be laser focused on one guy.
Correct.
Keep the defense guessing. So when you're looking at, I'm going to give you a quick list of whoever got a reception today. Montgomery, Mooney, Robinson, Graham, Javon Wims, Tariq Cohen, Cole Kmet, Patterson, Massey because it was tipped, and Ryan Nall. All those players got a catch today.
Okay, and how many yards did he have?
How many what?
How many yards did Trubisky have? Under 200, right?
He had 100 and I think
98.
190.
Ooh.
190. 18 for 28 and 190.
So did he have a better game last time or this time if you're looking at stats?
Look, the only stat that I care about
Is a W.
is a W.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, you look at the first half when you're scoring 17 points, and the second half where you score 0, you get shut out, and you give up 13 points. This is a very mediocre, low-scoring game,
Yes.
but they managed to find a way to win it at the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
You, like I said, no preseason. You had basically 10 days worth of training camp. You did not have a regular training camp. You didn't have a regular off-season program. You barely got to, half of your training camp was Zoom calls. So I can't complain about 2-0. I just can't.
Yeah. All right. So, E, we got an action-packed episode today. This is a
Yeah.
pretty big one for us. How about you tell us about who we got on the show today?
So we have an exclusive interview with a great MMA fighter and one of Chicago's very own. This is Jose "Shorty" Torres. We talked to Shorty about his life in and out of the ring and discuss his fight tonight against Sean Santella in the Brave flyweight tournament. He also tells us about his charitable contributions to the youth. And as always, we'll be joined by our featured Bears analyst, Il Brown, later on to recap the Bears and Giants and preview next week's game against the Atlanta Falcons.
Wow, we are action-packed. I mean, Jose Shorty Torres is an acquaintance of mine.
Shorty.
Yeah, that's right. We met a couple times here and there, and then we frequent it's the same bar. Actually, the bar I actually go to is Output Lounge on Grand and Wood. And
New sponsor?
not yet. But I'm gonna talk to this dude. Somebody I know. He might be the owner. But Output is an actual sponsor for his camp, and
Okay.
so it's when he has a interaction or a meet and greet and stuff, it's always there, and he's always willing to talk to everybody, and he's very, very a hospitals dude. So I was able to reach out to him. He was very gracious to grant us the interview, and you guys will listen to it a little bit later. But first, it's time for baseball. This is 3 Up and 3 Down.
I think I'll perplex him with my slow ball.
1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out.
All right, in 3 Up and 3 Down, we give you 3 good things and 3 bad things about our favorite baseball team. Z, give us some good White Sox news. Tell me some good about the good guys.
All right, the good guys in black. So this past week, the White Sox clinched a playoff berth. First time since about 2008.
I'd call that a great.
That's a great. It really is a great. They had a great comeback win against the Twins, and one of the Twins that they've been on our butts trying to get this division, but
Yeah.
we've been fighting them off. And the thing is that the White Sox have been criticized for doing well against these teams that are under 500, and not so well against the ones that are over 500.
I'll tell you what, that absolutely drives me nuts when you have people that will complain about who you're winning against. You can only play who is on your schedule.
Right.
And here's the thing, you're going to get even more criticized if you're not winning against the teams you should be winning against.
Right. If you stoop down to the level of competition, so if you're playing the bottom feeders and you go, okay, well, they're nobody, and then they whoop you,
Right.
then you can't. I'm just going to move forward. I'm just going to get upset with that. All right, number 1. Got to start with my 2 MVP candidates again for the AL. My team, Jose MVPito. That's right, Jose MVPito Abreu, and his top 10 batting average. He's up there with, actually, this is actually outdated at this point. He's got about more home runs and more and a higher average at this point. But let's move forward. So he's leading the league in hitting as far as average almost, and he's up there with Trout with home runs.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy, he's getting you the important hits. So if the guy's on second, you know what he does? He shortens up and shoots it over to right. And he gets on base and puts that run into scoring position or actually making them score. Same thing with Tim Anderson. Tim Anderson's doing the same thing. He's back on board. He had a day off this week. I don't know why they gave him a day off. Maybe Monteria wanted just to clear his head.
60 games in 66 days is why you give your guys days off. That's just
fine.
what it is.
And
Everyone needs a break, bro.
It was surprising because I'm pretty sure Anderson fought it. I'm almost guarantee Anderson did not want to be out of the line.
Everyone needs to sleep sometimes.
Yeah. But you know what? You got 2 guys who are fighting for the AL MVP. I know Trout has a lot of votes for it just because he's a big name. But his numbers are similar to them. But when it comes to MVP talk,
Yeah.
you got to talk about who is the most valuable player to the team.
Well, you know what's funny is that when I was talking to Mike Logic from the All Net podcast, we were kind of going back and forth because Giannis got the MVP again this year,
Yeah, he did
and
back-to-back.
he was saying that LeBron should have got it, and I'm like, MVP means who's the most valuable player to that particular team. It doesn't
Correct.
mean who's the best player in the league. So when you look at the difference between Trout and you look at Senor Pito,
That's right.
who's the most important to their team? I would say it's Mr. Abreu there.
Yeah, it is going to be Abreu because if you take Abreu out, there's a lot of stuff that's going.
It's a big hole.
It's a big hole. Whereas if you take Trout out, I mean, that team still sucks. Let's be honest, the Angels suck. So with or without Trout, they still suck.
Which is a shame. Which is a damn shame.
And
Looking at
it's a
who's on that roster.
You're right. It's wasting that talent, and that's going on over there. And I don't know if it's a coaching issue or guys are not coming together or they have injuries. I don't follow the Angels that well.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to say about them.
All right. What's your second point?
Back to back homers.
Damn.
Yeah. Yesterday.
Again, right?
Yes,
Didn't they
again.
do that before?
Yeah, we've done that before.
Man.
Yeah. So I think it was my boy Marza who The Big Chill. Remember that guy?
Who?
The Big Chill. I think he, I don't know, did some film study. Because every time I roast some of my White Sox players, they kind of do better. Or when I roast the manager, he starts listening to the podcast. I don't know what it is.
Who's listening?
That's right. So Marza hit a home run, and then it was Anderson, and I think Abreu hit a home run. So it was like back to back to back.
Yeah.
And Anderson actually had 2 home runs last night on Saturday. So that's my great.
That's always exciting, but it's a problem when you live by the long ball.
Yeah,
'Cause
and I'll
you're
get to
gonna
that. Yeah, and I'll get to that. All right. Now, point number 3, the Rook. The Rook came up. Garrett, is it Crochet or Crotchet?
So it's either going to be someone looking at your, underwear or someone that's knitting you a nice
Hey,
blanket.
he can get a sponsorship for, some underwear, some Hanes or what other underwear?
Or like
Under Armour.
a really fast Kawasaki for your crotch rocket.
There you go.
There you
yeah,
go.
yeah. So, I mean, his nickname might be the Crotch Rocket. This kid pitched 2 innings, 2 strikeouts. He was throwing over 100, 101 a lot of times, up and in, lefty. It's filthy.
Didn't he literally just get drafted like a few months ago?
Yes, he did.
Okay, so who we who are we comparing that to right now?
Well, Sale did the same thing,
He
where he
did?
got drafted and then came up to the MLB. And there's
In the same season.
in the same season. And actually, the pitcher we faced that day on Saturday was Trevor Bauer, who actually went through the same thing.
There you go.
So you got some big names that, did the same thing. Whether, the Crotch Rocket is going to be a starter or a middle reliever or a closer, we don't know yet. We're seeing right now he's going to be in a bullpen. He's going to help out the White Sox, and it'll develop. How far they stretch him out, I don't know yet. I mean, because to throw 101 miles an hour, you can't do that as a starter.
No.
And be able to have a long career.
No, that's what happened with Aroldis Chapman.
Right.
When he came up with the Reds, he was throwing fire, and he still throws fire, but you can't do that for, 6, 7, 8 innings at a time.
No, you're doing that 1, 2 innings max.
Right.
All right, let's move over to the bad. So you brought that up.
Yeah, I
The
did.
White Sox were, after the back-to-back-to-back, and you cannot live on the home run. All right, you got to manufacture runs, and besides what I'm seeing with Tim Anderson and Abreu and Madrigal, who are swinging the bat and finding the holes and getting base hits,
They're always on base.
they're always on base. But you got players like Encarnacion and Marza that are just watching the ball go past the plate and striking out.
You're talking about veteran guys.
Right. These
And
are veteran guys.
Who were both signed as free agents this year.
Correct. And you got Encarnacion hitting like under 200. You think he was hitting like 162 or something.
Ugh.
Yeah. I don't, at this point, I don't know what to do with the dude. Maybe gives him a couple days off so he can watch some film. Give some of the other kids a chance to DH, or you put in one of the catchers to DH, move Abreu, give him a day off from first base. But Encarnacion, maybe Ricky Renteria is like, let him swing out of it.
See, and y'all know that I'm a Cubs fan, but
Yeah.
even when I see that, I just think, ew, it's yucky, it's ewy. I don't want to see that anymore.
Well, what it does, it reminds me when Hayward was off.
Yeah.
And he had to go back and take the offseason and readjust his entire approach to the bat.
Which is something that veterans shouldn't have to do.
Right.
And guys that have had success and other. When Hayward come over, he was already struggling at the plate, and that to me was stemmed from when he got his face smashed and when he was still in Atlanta.
Yes.
I think that's, and it took him a few years because, and now if you look around the league, a lot of players have that extra chin strap that goes around their helmet, their batting helmet.
Yes. Yeah. They got the double side now.
But these, as far as I can recall, these guys never got their face smashed in with a baseball.
There's a couple of players that we know. Konerko, got hit in the face, broke his nose or whatever it was.
But I'm talking about Encarnacion and Marza.
Yeah, don't.
Right. You know what I mean? There's realistically, why are you not living up to the reason why you were signed in the first place?
Again, we've talked about this before. Why are you not living up to the back of your baseball card?
Correct.
All right, let's move on, because that's depressing.
What's number 3?
Number 3 is losing 2 out of 3 to the Reds. The White Sox lost on Friday, and they lost on Saturday. Today was embarrassing. They had a great win. It was a home run derby on Saturday, with the back-to-back-to-back, and then Anderson hitting 2 home runs that day, talking about the spaghetti. He's hungry. But when you're losing 2 out of 3 to the Reds, who are 27 and 27 now.
But you call it a bad because you think the Sox are like this magical team. But guess what? The Reds are in the playoffs.
They are?
They are in the playoffs. They are
Get
a wild
outta
card team.
here.
They are a wild card team.
At 500?
Yes, 100%. Because you don't forget, your first place team makes the playoffs, your second place team makes the playoffs,
Right.
and you have a wild card team. This is not a garbage team. The Reds have a lot of good players on the team.
I mean, I know they have power. I know that there's a lot of
They have good
power.
pitching. They have good play. They have Sonny Gray on the team.
So why are they 27 and 27?
Because why? I mean, you're talking about a 60-game season.
Right, but the division isn't that strong in the NL Central. Besides the Cubs.
Cardinals. Brewers still have some good players on there. And the Reds, and that's the ones we expected to contend.
Wow.
The Reds are not a garbage team.
Wow.
So I mean, like, even though you're looking at it that way, it's not like they're over here losing to like the Baltimore Orioles or something like that. The Reds are still a good team.
Hey, aren't the Orioles in it? I don't even know.
The Orioles are not in anything.
I mean, they're in the league.
I mean, technically yes, but I mean, like, that bird is about to fly away.
That bird should fly away.
That bird's gonna fly right off their hat. Like, I don't want to be associated with this.
All right, so just a quick look up here. The Cubs at 31 and 21, Cardinals at 26 and 24, 26 and 26 Brewers, and 27-27 Reds.
There you go. This NL Central is a tight race, so that's what I'm trying to tell you, man. I know that you're paying attention to the AL Central, but the NL Central is tight.
I had no idea it was that tight.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see. Did I finish my stuff? Yeah, I did. I mean, I just looked at him like, yeah, we did. I mean, that just bothered me, losing attitude. And I guess I got spoiled from, the White Sox taking every series and doing very well. What I am concerned about is the 4 games against the Indians coming up. And the reason for that is that they might have to play that team in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know the Cubs-Sox series at the end of the season is going to be great.
There you go.
And that's going to be electric for both sides of the city. Will it matter for either one of the teams? I don't know.
It's going to matter in the sense that it's going to matter for the city.
It'll matter for the fans.
It doesn't matter who plays. It's going to be bragging rights.
No, I understand that. But would it matter to the teams as far as if you clinch
it could,
and I clinch?
It could for seeding.
Yeah.
It definitely could for seeding.
Yeah.
We're not over here in the NL West where the Dodgers have run away with it.
Right.
It could look. You just gave me 4 teams records in the NL Central.
Mm-hmm. I did,
and they're super close. So that could make a big difference.
Yeah, you can drop from first to third. Well, not the Cubs. I think they're good. They're 10 games over.
Right.
And there's only 7 games left. So I think they're good.
But you're straddling that line. You know what I mean?
Well, the Cardinals can still catch you guys.
Right.
Because, they're about 5 games behind. But, yeah, I mean, it's going to be an interesting last week of the season for both NL and AL Centrals. But
right.
How about you let me know what's going on the north side? I mean, we talked about it a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's when you have 2 teams in the same city, we're going to, cross a little bit, But number one, I'll say, the Cubs have been cruising. They're 7-3 in the last 10. Pitching has been solid all around, and except for an implosion last night on Saturday night in the 7th inning, they very well could have been 9-1 in their last 10. It kind of imploded in the Twins game and allowed the Twins to clinch. So I feel like some White Sox fans were definitely rooting for the Cubs last night.
I was rooting for you guys. I don't like the Twins.
Wow.
Yeah. Newsflash.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Hey, I hope, are you recording this? Because I want to bring that back later.
Oh, boy.
I was rooting for the Cubs, and I'm a Sox fan.
I was rooting that Minnesota lost. So you guys were playing them, so I was rooting for the Cubs to beat Minnesota. It's on tape.
You weren't rooting for us. You were rooting against the other team.
Yeah.
I get it. Don't give us love now. I don't want to hear it now. All right. Number two. Darvish still looking sharp. I mean, he's currently tied for the NL League lead with 7 wins and second in the NL with a 1.86 ERA.
No, Darvish is dealing. I mean, this dude is awesome. I think it's going to come down to him and Trevor Bauer for the Cy Young Award, and the White Sox thrashed Bauer with the home runs.
I mean, stats are supposed to play a part of it, just like any other, award that you give out. But I really, really hope that they take into consideration that after everything that happened, like I mentioned before, with the Astros,
definitely
that he was right. He says, "Hey, they were cheating." He went through all this mess where they said they call him you garbage, you garbage,
yeah.
you garbage. Okay, you look at now. We look back, Darvish or Arrieta. They absolutely made the right choice, and I've said it before.
Right.
So I mean, I think he's absolutely been vindicated, and I hope they take that into consideration when they go into the voting.
Well, we'll see what they do. Darvish probably has 1 or 2 more starts left for the season, so Let's see if he picks it up and finishes strong.
I mean, if he does have another start, it's going to be pretty close. So let me tell you, number 3, speaking of pitching, the Cubs do have 3 starters that are top 5 in wins in the National League. And as I said, Darvish is sitting there with 7 wins. But you also have both Hendricks and Alec Mills who have 5 wins. You know, what a great story this year with Mills. You know, he was that 5th starter. People were like, why? Who? What is up with this guy?
Right.
You know, and we sat there today arguing with Cubs fans and a couple Sox fans earlier, but like, well, you know, Mills has been dealing. You know, y'all didn't know about Mills. You're sleeping on him. I'm like, look, 5 wins is 5 wins. Hendricks has 5 wins. He has 5 wins. Darvish has 7. The starting pitching has been pretty damn solid. You know, also, Hendricks has a league-leading 73.2 innings pitched, so he's been a huge help with keeping the bullpen fresh. You know, that's a big
Hendricks
deal.
has been your workhorse since he's been here.
He's been a workhorse, but in the beginning, he looked like our ace, and then you looked at what Darvish was doing, and then that switched pretty quickly. You know, but as a whole, the Cubs as a team are currently tied for first in the NL with 15 saves and third in ERA with 3.9.
They've turned it around.
Absolutely.
I mean, a couple episodes we were talking about like how the bullpen's been garbage, and look what they're doing now.
Yeah. So now that we're talking about the pen, I'm going to slide over to our bad side because this is a big hurt.
Oh boy.
And I'm not talking about Frank Thomas.
Oh.
So Rowan Wick was put on the IL with an oblique injury, and he could be done for the year. The move is retroactive to September 17th. And the corresponding move, they brought up the lefty Andrew Chafin, who they acquired at the trade deadline from the Diamondbacks. And he just came off the IL himself because of a sprained index finger. You know, losing Wick is huge because along with Kimbrel and Jeffress, he's been a very, very valuable piece for them at the end of games.
Yeah, again, like you just pointed out with the stats, that the back end of the Cubs bullpen has been doing a lot better. And if you lose one of those pieces, it might throw the roles off to some of these guys that have to come in.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to hurt, especially if he's not able to come back. It could definitely hurt. My number 2 bad, John Lester, who signed a 6-year contract with the Chicago Cubs and basically was a very integral part of them winning that World Series. He was an anchor for them. You know, it's very possible that his last home game at Wrigley was played in front of an empty stadium. It's a damn shame that Lester isn't going to get his proper send-off from the fans if indeed this was his last game as a member of the Chicago Cubs at home. Like I said, he was an integral part of getting the Cubs to the top of the mountain in 2016, and we absolutely love this guy. He's called Chicago his home, and he loves it here. He lives here as well. So I really hope that, you know, this isn't the last of Lester being involved with the Cubs, whether it's in a pitching role or a coaching role, because we would embrace him and love him no matter what.
I mean, you never know. I mean, Rossi can be like, you know what, let's bring him on as a special advisor or even, you know, a bullpen coach.
I don't know if he's done pitching, though.
No, I'm not saying he's done pitching, but I mean, a lot of what the Cubs have done is brought in back their good players and said, all right, help us out with this, help us out with that.
The tricky thing is that you have Theo Epstein, who has a very personal relationship with Lester, number 1, but Theo may be gone. Number 2, Rossi was Lester's personal catcher when they came here in 2016.
Right.
So he's gonna be boosting up for his guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's the tricky thing when it comes to that. You know.
Yeah. What's your number 3?
So, number 3. Lastly, we have some sad news to report. Baseball lost a legend on Saturday. A longtime scout and front office advisor, Gary Hughes. He passed away at the age of 79 after a very short, a battle with cancer. Mr. Hughes came to the Cubs in 2002 and spent 10 years as a special assistant and senior executive for the Cubs under general manager Jim Hendry. Hughes was also a part of 5 World Series champions during a career that also included scouting for the Giants, Mets, Mariners, and Yankees, and assistant GM jobs with the Rockies and the Reds. Rest in peace, Mr. Hughes.
Rest in peace, sir. All right, true Chicago sports fans, let's take a pause for the cause, and when we come back, we'll talk about the Bears versus the Giants. This is a TCSF podcast with E-Roc and Big Z.
I think I'll perplex him with my slow ball.
1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out.
If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So, I know you want to do it. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Welcome back to the TCSF podcast with E-Roc and Big Z. All right, everyone, it's time for some football. This is 3 and Out. Our Bears segment with Il Brown is sponsored by Noir Caesar and Villain Radio Studios. All right, let's get to it. First down.
You know what? I'm going to look at the overall picture, how Mitch played. I thought he had more flow. I thought that they put him in better situations. The game plan was a little bit better. They put him in shotgun situations.
Yes.
The run-pass ratio was a lot better.
Yes.
They spread the ball around. So as far as Mitch's play, I'm going to give him a B+, even though he had some interceptions.
He did have 2 interceptions. We're looking at 18 for 28, only 190 yards, but he did have 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions.
Again, he spread the ball along. I just don't think he got it to his major players, though. I think that's what hurt the team today.
Technically, he had 10 different receivers that caught a ball, one of them being Bobby Massey, which was kind of a fluke, and he kind of saved the play. Mm-hmm. But you did have him spreading the ball around. You had David Montgomery, you had Darnell Mooney, A-Rob, Jimmy Graham, Javon Wims, Cohen, Komet, Patterson, and Ryan Nall, who had to come in.
Right, but to that point, you got 2 big tight ends that, one, you signed for a lot of money, and then 2, you drafted them as your first draft pick that you had on the board, and they got 2 catches for 30 yards.
Yeah, I mean,
if they were blocking most of the game, which is great, but you're using these 2 guys either to spread the defense out or as your safety valves, and we all know Mitch needs that safety valve.
Absolutely. Well, I think what you saw realistically is you saw him spreading the ball to whoever is open. I give him a lot of props because instead of just laser focusing on one guy, which is usually A-Rob,
correct,
he's looking around to see who's open to be able to receive the ball.
So is A-Rob going to have an issue only having, 3 catches today?
I mean, I don't know. I didn't exactly look at how many targets he had, but at least someone was throwing him the ball. You know what I mean? Like, at least because, you saw early on in the game that he was getting targets, but as the game went along, I felt like he was getting less and less and less targets. And maybe they were just trying to close in on him or whatever it was, but he was definitely getting targets in the beginning of the game. Mm-hmm. All right, what's our second down?
The Bears defense. What you think, E?
I think overall we were looking good, especially in the beginning. You saw them. My biggest fear going into this game was that they were going to get gashed the same way that they did in the first game with Adrian Peterson running down the throats.
Right.
Now, granted, I feel like ever since Peterson came into the league with the Vikings, they did run it right up the middle, and the Bears had no answer for him.
Yeah, it's the same story, same guy. Against the Bears defense. It doesn't matter what defense is out there. Peterson's always been a beast against us.
And if I recall correctly, the Bears have played the Giants, I want to say at least maybe 4 times in the last 5 years. And last year with Saquon's rookie year, he did put some numbers up on the Bears.
Yeah,
he put some big numbers up on us. But here's the thing. We saw early on that Saquon had that hyperextension of the elbow.
Yes.
And then eventually he went out with a knee injury.
Yeah, it looks like a torn ACL.
It looks really bad. I feel bad for the kid because I'm not a Giants fan, but I'm a fan of Saquon. I'm a fan of any running back this day and age who is a beast and can do some things because you just don't see that anymore.
Right. No matter what, we're not going to wish any ill versus somebody to lose the season and probably lose their career. That's something that we're not wishing for. We still want that guy out there. We want to compete against the best. And unfortunately, he looks like he hyperextended his elbow, still played, and then he looks like he might have torn his ACL. As far as the defense, who did show up today? Rokon, Khalil Mack.
So Rokon had 7 tackles. Mm-hmm. Now, when Rokon and Eddie Jackson are tied for 7 tackles apiece. But when you go down the line, I got Eddie Jackson at 7, Buster Screen at 5, Kyle Fuller at 5, Jalen Johnson at 3. So what does that tell you? That tells you that they had to make tackles in the second line, and they weren't stopping it where they needed to, and they weren't getting to Daniel Jones the way they needed to.
That might have been, they were playing a little bit more zone.
That's entire. We had 1 sack the entire game, and that was Robert Quinn, who's I'm glad to see him show up and actually be able to play.
Right. He was a game changer at that point. He made the pretty much the pressure on the quarterback and forced the fumble.
Right.
And Khalil Mack was in the right place at the right time to recover.
Correct. So you had one sack and you did have one interception, and that was Deion Bush.
Right.
Who I forgot he was on the team.
Yeah, I didn't know it was. I thought it might have been Fuller who intercepted.
I did too. I just saw the 2 and the first number, so I thought he was the one that got it.
Right.
But overall, I mean, not a terrible performance. I would have liked to see him step it up. I feel like, and you had mentioned it before the show.
Right.
I feel like that once Saquon got injured, then they kind of, let up on the gas a little bit. So.
Well, I think they might have just taken a step back and said, you know what, the rush is not coming. Let's force them to pass the ball.
Right. So what's our third down?
First half, 17 points. Second half is a shutout.
Is that the Bears not figuring it out, or is that Giants adjustments at the half, or what's going on here?
It looks like it's it's like the book, The Tale of Two Cities. The Bears are a tale of two halves. They're going to be really good and then really bad, or they're going to be really bad and then really good.
Right.
And the consistency is what we need. If they do this against Atlanta, who is actually known for blowing leads,
yeah,
they lost today.
They were up huge on the Cowboys, and the Cowboys came back and won that game.
Right, but at the same time, Atlanta has way more talent on the offensive side than the last 2 teams we've seen.
Correct.
So I don't think that if they play like this or like they played in the last game, that we're going to come out with a W. I think that's going to be a big L. I think they're going to get blown out if they keep playing the way they're playing and not being consistent throughout the entire game.
So what you're telling me is that you don't think that if the Bears go behind early in the first half, that Mitch can't lead them from behind like he did in the first game?
No, I do not have the confidence in Mitch in that. No.
So right now we're looking at first quarter 10 points, second quarter 7 points. Now, in the first quarter, they definitely should have had more than 10 points.
Right.
They definitely should have had at least 14 because they were right there, and they did not get that touchdown.
Mitch threw a good pass in the end zone, and who dropped it?
I'm not sure.
It was one of the newer wide receivers that dropped it. I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
No, Mooney?
No.
Are you thinking about Mooney?
It was somebody. You know what? It was right on his hand. It hit his hands. He should have caught it.
So no, it was Miller, man.
Was it Miller?
It was Miller because when I go back and look at the numbers, it was definitely Miller because when I look back, I was just, I'm thinking about the first game. Miller had a good game. In the second game, Miller did not get a reception whatsoever.
No, he had 0 receptions.
A whole bunch of eggs. I'm glad. I'm getting ready to go keto next week. So I saw all those eggs and I got real excited.
I mean, I can put some eggs out there and get paid.
But no, it was definitely Miller. Now that we're jogging our memory, kind of working through it, because there's so much when you get a game like this where it's kind of like you said, the tale of two halves. There's so much stuff to sit there and try to dissect. But it was definitely Miller. Now that I think about it, and I look at all those zeros that he put up.
Again, I mean, you can't blame everything on Mitch now. If he's putting it in your hands and you're dropping it, you're an NFL wide receiver.
Yes.
If it's in your hands, you better catch it.
And that's a catch that he actually made last week in week 1.
Right.
He did make that catch last week in week 1. So, I mean, that's a big problem. One shining star, shining star, who you are. Okay, we did see Mooney.
Yes.
He looked good.
Mooney looks good. The rookie looks good.
The rookie did look good.
Thank goodness I drafted him on my fantasy team.
All right, so that's our 3 downs. Let's give a big punt, and let's shoot it over to our Bears analyst, Il Brown. What up, Il?
What's the word? 2-0 the ugly way.
That's right. All right, give us a lowdown with your good, your bad, and your ugly.
Okay, so I got for my good, 8 of 13 on third down. A major step in the right direction for week 1.
Yes.
Those teams who convert on third down typically come out with the wins. Was very pleased with the play calling. Very pleased with the situational football we were in on third down. So it was easier to game plan instead of being in third and long constantly. So that's definitely a good sign going forward.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I feel like the play calling in this game was much better, much more clean. You had a really good run-pass ratio, and you could see once Mitch is allowed to use some instinct and kind of roll out a little bit, I mean, he's chucking those passes down, and I mean, like, I think it was a throw to Robinson where we're like, oh my God, we jumped up off the sofa real quick in the beginning of the game, and we're like, all right, we feel good about this now. All right, what's your bad?
A-Rob and Miller, Butterfingers this week. What's going on, man?
I mean, don't they get that stickum to put on the gloves there?
They're allowed to. Those gloves are sticky, man.
Those gloves are ridiculous, man. So no inclement weather. So Miller dropped a touchdown.
Yes.
I mean, directly in his hands. It was actually a third down that they should have converted.
Right, because they had to kick the field goal after that, right.
And Miller runs like a 10-yard out and Mitch puts it right on his numbers. And
which doesn't happen all that often. You got to take advantage when you actually get that.
Mitch was accurate today.
Yes, he was much better.
The interceptions.
Yeah.
I don't know if A-Rob is not finishing his routes all the way out because he wants that contract extension.
Well, that's not going to help him.
That interception that was tipped up in the air, that's on A-Rob. You're running the comeback. You can't allow the defensive back to beat you to your route.
Mm-hmm.
So now, let me tell you, there's something that I noticed both in the first game and the second game is that where Mitch puts the ball, each time when A-Rob, because early on you see A-Rob when he made that nice catch, he has to do these crazy acrobatic moves to actually catch the ball.
Yeah, he's throwing at what the receiver is and where he's going to be.
Yeah,
and
he doesn't.
And that's why A-Rob has to reach back and try to make this acrobatic catch.
And you know what? You know what's going to happen is that eventually Trubisky is going to get A-Rob killed.
Yeah,
he's going to get him nailed, and he's going to have a ankle or a knee or something like that. So when you look at a guy who's actually able to catch those crazy passes that Trubisky is throwing his way, that makes him more valuable than any other player in the NFC North.
You guys got to run the tape back. A lot of the times, Mitch is throwing to a spot. That's Nagy's offense in a nutshell. He's throwing to a spot.
Well, that's what you're supposed to do. That's what he's supposed to be doing. But I distinctly remember the specific throw
the first throw to A-Rob where he had to jump up between two defenders.
There's two defenders up in the air, and A-Rob has to reach all the way back and get it from behind him. I remember that play.
So that's a situation where A-Rob sits down in the zone. It's a hell of a throw. It's a hell of a catch.
Yes.
Really, you're supposed to take the check down right there. Honestly, the great quarterbacks are going to take the check down right there. They're going to look there and take the check down every time.
And I saw Mitch missing that check down on a lot of plays where he's over trying to force it to 2 and 3 different offensive players that are, covered. And then on his left side, his blind side, he's got a running back on the flat wide open. And that's his safety valve. That's where you're supposed to hit. If no one's open, hit him.
He can't get to that third read.
Correct.
When he was really a one side of the field quarterback, now he's getting to his second read now.
Yes, absolutely.
But he's not getting to the check down, man. So
no,
that's my bad.
But at least he had time to throw. I felt like he had much more time to throw.
Yeah,
today.
absolutely.
No, and the offensive line's killer.
Right, and when he was able to go through his progressions, he did look pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. He had for the most part, he was sacked 4 times still, but he had a clean pocket. Otherwise, I still like to see some better play calling, man. But we can ramble about that all day, man.
And even when he did have to rush, he had 4 rushes and he ended up getting 16 yards. So I mean, it wasn't all bad. All right, so what's your ugly?
That whole entire win today was ugly, man.
Winning ugly, baby.
Just winning ugly, man. 17 points ain't gonna cut it against the good teams. Let's be real about it. The Lions, mediocre opponent. Giants. Bottom of the barrel opponent.
Yes.
There were some key drops where I feel like the score would have just been
a blowout.
Way out.
I definitely feel like they could have ran up the score on the Giants, and they didn't take advantage, especially with Saquon going down.
I mean, there's a couple of times Mitch had 6-7 seconds in the pocket.
Yes. Yeah. Guys got to get open, and when he puts it on your numbers, man, you got to bring those in.
And I want to say that touchdown to Mooney, I mean, it wasn't the prettiest ball thrown, but he did have so much time to throw that ball, and that's what he needs.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Frisbee.
I was definitely impressed by Mooney this week.
Yeah. Darnell Mooney is a stud, man. You get a cat like that in the 6th round.
Yeah.
That's a steal. He's exactly what the Bears offense need. With better quarterback play, you will really see that guy taking the top off of a defense.
Yeah, he absolutely could be a stud. Yeah, absolutely.
So are you saying that Foles would do a better job at this?
I am.
Ooh.
I've been telling you.
I am. And I'm saying I wanted Nick Foles to win the job coming out of King.
Right.
But you're not gonna bench your number 2 pick.
That wasn't gonna happen. We all know that was not gonna happen. There was no shadow of that actually happening.
Absolutely not. But Nick Foles probably puts 31 points up today.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what was your overall impression of the Bears' performance, and what grade would you give them as a team?
For me, the Bears get a C+, man. A win is a win, but I'm not excited about this win, man. You get a C+ because you got the W.
But you left so many points on the table that should have been on the on the board. Yeah.
Can't give props for mediocre football that we saw out there today, man. The defense did what they were supposed to do to, preserve a blowout, but they ended up just being on the field way too much in the second half.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Yes.
The defense had 4 sacks and an interception. You supposed to win by at least two scores in a game like that.
So what were the what would you say are the biggest positives to take away from today?
Pass rush. You got to see a taste of and Robert Quinn was on the pitch count, of course.
Yes. Finally.
You got to see, what it's like. Week 6, I'd be scared to play quarterback with Akeem Hicks, Robert Quinn, and Khalil Mack breathing down my neck for 4 quarters. Them guys
did
are
get that sack
rusty.
today.
What game is week 6?
I'm just saying, whoever in week 6 when them guys really get into their groove, man, like I still feel like, you're seeing a lot of rustiness that comes with preseason football right now, league-wide.
Well, week 6 would be the Panthers and Teddy Bridgewater.
Bridgewater's in trouble. Them dudes are going to have their ears pinned back, man, and they're going to be coming after that dude, man. Like, today, I would say my best thing for today, man, is we didn't have any injuries.
Oh, that was a blessing.
I'll
yes.
take that. Depending on, do we have confirmation of what's going on with Montgomery? Did he?
Montgomery came back and played.
But
yeah, he balled out the second half. He's fine.
We got to watch out with that neck because that's
hopefully he doesn't stiffen up. Right.
Correct. That's the biggest thing. So, what would you say? What would you say the Bears need to clean up going into next week?
Man, wide receivers catch the ball.
Please.
Let's get the tight ends more involved.
Thank you.
Yes, I agree.
Got the middle of the field is open. Got to get the tight ends more involved. Defense is those guys are proud. That's a proud unit. It's a lot of talent on that side of the ball. Those guys are going to raise their play as the competition level is raised. So I'm not worried about the defense.
I think the defense played well. It's just in the second half they were out there way too long.
They got gassed because they kept having to be the ones out there.
Right.
The Bears weren't taking advantage of the spots they were in, and they had to turn over the ball and then let the defense take care of it.
All right. So
once again, we still here. The offense.
Yeah, it's been the story of the last 2-3 years.
That's the story of the last 27 years.
Oh,
so if we're being honest,
that's what happens when you get a coach that will take your offense to the next level, but you don't let him draft his quarterback.
Right.
Yeah.
You got to give Nagy a shot at getting his own guy.
All right. So, what's our prediction for next week against the Falcons? What does that game look like to you?
We're at home against Atlanta, correct?
Oh no, we're
in Atlanta next week.
We're in Atlanta.
Oh, we get to be on the fast track. 27-24 Bears.
27-24
yeah, that's
Bears. Right. Okay.
That's going to be a tight game because, like I said, Atlanta does put up a lot of points, but they did get
they give away a lot of points.
They did, and they're notorious for giving up that lead. Remember that Super Bowl thing that happened?
They're notorious choke artists, man. So I look at what they allowed the Cowboys to do today.
Yes.
And last time we saw the Cowboys, it was a beating.
Right.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. The beating at Soldier Field. That's right.
Our defense ain't their defense, man. And they got some names, but our guys are a little bit different.
And we got one of their names because we took Robert Quinn away from the Cowboys.
Yeah, that's right. We got Robert Quinn. So got one of the bright spots off of their defense. So I expect Matt Ryan to be in for a long day, especially on that fast track with that turf. Yep.
One last question, and I'm thinking about it just on the fly, is that our kicking, is that going to be an issue?
It's always an issue, man, until we go out and get a real kicker, man. Like
Pinheiro was good last year, but he's injured right now. That's a problem.
How do you stay injured as a kicker, man? That is so Chicago Bears of him.
I mean, I won't lie, it is, but it is a hell of. You got to think about that. You're putting a lot of pressure and a lot of torque on your body when you are kicking. So I mean,
you know what? You know how you have another team that plays at Soldier Field called the Chicago Fire. They got a bunch of kickers. Give those guys 6 weeks. Give those guys 6 weeks to learn how to kick.
Listen, Pinheiro. You know where Pinheiro learned how to kick?
No, I don't.
Playing soccer. Playing soccer, that's where he came from.
Okay.
But now, if you have a guy like Cairo Santos, now to be fair, within the past 3-4 years, or about 3 years or so, I'd say once they started kind of shifting things around on the kicker, the kicking in the NFL has been absolutely atrocious.
It has.
Oh,
it has been terrible. So, I mean, before, and they did that on purpose because before you would just sit there and be like, yeah, that's a gimme. That's a gimme. Extra points, that's exactly right. Extra points were a gimme. Field goals within 30 yards were a gimme. And now we're like, oh, my God, we're looking at all the work that was done being flushed down the toilet by one guy, one skinny little guy with a fat leg that we're hoping can kick it.
I don't know what they need to do. Maybe they need to take off their shoes like before, in the old days.
Man, spend some money on the kicker, man. Baltimore is not having that problem.
No, well, Justin, you know what? But Justin Tuck likes to do opera, so maybe we need to have a training camp for kickers to do some opera, get their lungs expanded, and maybe it'll help their foot or something. I don't know, man. But that was hurt because here's the thing: they make that kick. We're not worried about that last drive. At least for them to get caught up, they have
Most
to.
they could do is tie. You know what I'm saying?
Right, and that makes a big difference.
But of course, they got to get our blood pressure up, man. Like, let's make sure he misses the kick.
Yeah.
I mean, Cairo Santos he was a bum in Kansas City, man. So I go get the guy you see on YouTube. What's his name? Destroying or something like that. Go give him a trial, man. Why not?
Why not? What do we got to lose?
I mean, that dude could hit a 70-yard field goal, man. Like, at least he's going to kick the ball far enough.
Mr. Brown, we're going to expect you to drop a line, so next week we hear your response. That's your assignment for this week is go find us another kicker off of YouTube.
All right, that's what I'm on, man. I'm going to find some guys. I'm going to have some names for y'all too, man.
All right.
Excellent.
Thank you for your analysis. Thank you for coming in on the show. Always a pleasure. We'll talk to you next week, and we'll talk about that Atlanta win. And you'll break down our game for you. No, we're going to get that win. We're going to get that win.
I like it. I like
get
the
that 3-0. 3-0,
You
baby.
already know, man. Gang's here. Bear down.
Bear down,
go.
baby.
That's what's
Bear
up.
down.
We out here.
All right. That was some great insight by our Bears contributor, Il Brownham. We will be right back with more TCSF podcasts after a word from our sponsors.
If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So, I know you want to do it. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. We have a special guest today. It is Jose "Shorty" Torres. He is an MMA fighter. He's Chicago native.
Yeah.
And, we like to appreciate our Chicago's athletes. So we want to spotlight him today. So I want to just give out a couple things that you may not know about him. He is a 2-time junior college MVP and a college All-American, college athlete of the year in 2012, multiple-time wrestling tournament placer and champion, over 100 wins at the collegiate level,
Wow.
2-time Pan American gold medal. I mean, this guy has, a good list of stuff.
I see that.
He's legit. 2-time Pan American gold medalist and a 9-1 professional MMA record.
There's so much more in between that. It's ridiculous.
Legit. That is a legit resume.
Yeah, that's a long list.
I'm not even gonna lie to you. You highlighted the smallest accolades of my career, and I appreciate it. The reason why I say that is because after all that,
yeah,
I ended up being a 2-time world champion as an amateur, got signed to Titan FC immediately instead of fighting locally, was able to be a 2-weight class champion for them and defended the belt 3 times total. What Conor McGregor did at 14-2 before he signed to the UFC, I did at 5-0 and defended a belt in the process. He's never defended a belt. Eventually went to the UFC. Sadly, the flyweights all got the boot.
Yeah, they got
and
cut.
now I'm in Brave.
Oh, wow.
And man, it's a crazy experience because you're a shorty from the neighborhood, a shorty from Chicago. Just a shorty trying to come up, do big things. Fighting saved my life. And for me, just like other Chicago natives, you have Adrian Granados, David Diaz from back in the day. You have Jose Chipamarisco, all these guys trying to come up and do our thing. This is our way out of the neighborhood, and it's been a journey to say the less.
What neighborhood did you grow up in?
So I grew up in the McKinley Park neighborhood, and then eventually moved over to Cicero. So I've been in Cicero pretty much all my life ever since I think I was 10 years old. And man, Chicago born and raised, and Cicero's right next door. You literally hop the line. You're like, oh,
right.
Yeah, we consider that still Chicago. That's
that's how Chicago grew in the first place. Just absorbing the little areas and towns that were around it and just bring them in.
Right.
Yeah, man. We just do a whole different thing where we don't have to pay as much taxes in Chicago.
Right, that's right. Just hop over the line and pay less taxes. So I want to start off with how you've been affected with the pandemic. Everything's about the pandemic with the COVID-19. How you've been affected as far as your training, your fight outlook? Did you have any canceled fights? What's going on? How did it affect you?
Man, definitely it affected work when it comes to fights. I was supposed to fight March 28th in Brazil. 8 days before my fight, and I'm cutting weight. You know, they like to call me the angry Chihuahua when I get close to cutting weight. You know, you start to get moody and all that stuff. I can't eat, I can't drink, I can't do anything. I live at home. My mom, who wants to be a mother and take care of me,
Yeah.
she's like, "I made you some carne asada. You think about esto? You're this." I was like, "Damn it, mom! The only person I want to fight right now is you." You know, so it's one of those things that it did become a struggle because I was supposed to fight. Brazil completely shut down. Then my promotion, just like every other promotion, like, you know what, maybe next week, maybe next month, maybe next month. And it just kind of
Yeah.
kept on going. And literally, no, I'm in September. I was scheduled to fight possibly August, but then the Middle East still didn't open up to certain countries. Again, US, even though Brave has been, my promotion has been running events in Europe and they want me to commentate for them as well. They're like, "Oh, you know, even if you're not fighting, you can commentate for us." Well,
That's
man,
great.
I'm an American. I can't go to Europe because there's a travel ban. So it's like,
Yeah.
I'm still limited. So when it comes to work, it sucks. When it comes to training, though, I've made my circle a lot smaller, and I work with a coach by the name of Dean Thomas, who's a UFC veteran, been around for years. Who's working with Tyron Woodley, who fights against
Yeah.
Colby Covington coming up very, very soon.
Nice.
So you know, it's one of those things that like I've been able to travel. I just got back from St. Louis yesterday. I've been able to travel, train, and you know, it's become a small circle, but a small family in a good, positive way instead of, you know, spreading myself out too thin. So when it comes to the work of practicing and training, man, I've never felt like this before. I finally have that one-on-one attention that I've been craving. But I can tell you this from the mental aspect, and I'm pretty sure you guys have suffered from it, you know, and everybody else. It's mentally draining. You know, you go outside even today, you're just like, oh wait, I gotta wear a mask. Wait, where is everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's been. I'll tell you what. I mean, I'll say you're the third person who participates in a combat sport that we've interviewed, and we talked to Isais Velasquez, and he's a wrestler, and he talked about the struggle because at the time he was, I think, our first or one of our second interviews
Yeah,
way
second
back
interview.
when,
Yeah.
and he had the struggle of not being able to train at all. The
Right.
one good thing he said about it was he was actually able to heal, you know, from wrestling, because they have to jump up and like land on each other and pretend it didn't hurt, you know, and that's the thing. And then when we talked to Jessica McCaskill, she was talking about, you know, it really didn't affect her because of the way that their training and their gym was set up. So it has been very interesting to learn how different combat sport participants have had to deal with the pandemic.
Right.
What's been crazy because you know I was at the time training an American Top Team when this first all started. American Top Team is like a high school. There's hundreds of like high level professional athletes, multiple champions there, but there's only so many coaches. But then when you have the pandemic hitting, some people were forced to go back home. Some people couldn't go back to their country. Some people had to, you know, pay again with their visas. Some people weren't even allowed back in the gym because, you know, Florida being sports being an essential thing down there, the gyms were able to open up, but only for a certain number of people. So it's like you have 100 really high level pro athletes. Now you got to be a little political and pick and choose, and that was the hardest part. You know, it's like I lived at the gym, and sometimes they're like, "Yeah, you can't come downstairs." It's like, what, dude? I'm literally right upstairs compared to some people who have to drive a half an hour to the gym and help.
Right, and they're more exposed to people they're more exposed to people outside, so where they can contract the COVID-19. Where you were living upstairs, you're like, I don't talk to anybody but anybody at the gym, so I know I'm safe.
It's like I'm a loser. I'm upstairs. I'm alone. It was a crazy time, but now you know I live with my coach Dean Thomas, and him and I are working on a lot of one-on-one stuff. You know, as an athlete, I'm 28 now. I'm barely entering my prime. It's one of those things that like I've trained at so many high-level gyms. I spar with some of the greatest fighters in the world, and I know I can hold my own. But it's one of those things that toughness can only get you so far in your life, and I've definitely learned that in my career, my one loss. Toughness can only get you so far in your life because you step in the cage doesn't mean you're going to be there. One, you 100% have to mentally be there. I mean, that's why Mike Tyson back in the day, even being the smaller athlete, was so powerful because Custio Amato pretty much hypnotized the guy to be a champion before he was even a champion. That mindset was ridiculous. And then two is, you know, being able to just have that small circle, have someone really tell you what to do compared to, you know, oh, you're the best all the time.
Yeah, you want someone that's actually going to be critical of you and actually tell you the truth, what you're doing good, what you're doing bad, and give you, you know, true motivation and tell you what you need to fix. So, you know, on that topic, you know, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got into the sport and what was your motivation behind it?
Man, my father was a goon. You know, he was just that guy who always wanted to fight. I was too, and that's not even a joke. My dad was on weed, steroids, cocaine when I was born. You know, I was raised in a trap house. My dad,
Whoa.
you know, was raised in the north side and gangs and all that stuff. And it's just that's just what he did. That was the upbringing. My father didn't have a father. My grandmother wasn't the best role model, and so that was his way out of the neighborhood. So by the time he had me, I was Shorty Junior. I do have my older brother, but my older brother just slowly started to follow his path, so he didn't really get the right opportunities. Sadly, it was like the first child's like the test child. Like, damn,
Yeah.
Yeah.
kind of messed
Yep.
up on that one. We shouldn't do the same thing to the next kid, which sucks to say, but that's what it was.
Yeah.
So my dad, being such an aggressive person, always made me fight. And then naturally, it's funny, a lot of people don't know one of the reasons why I started was to beat my dad up. I was like, man, I don't like how he treats my mom, my brother, myself. We're all always getting in fights.
Got it. Yeah.
He was either fighting with us because we were in his way, or he wanted to teach us how to fight. So either way, we were getting whooped. So I was like, man, I need to learn how to defend myself. And all my, being a '90s baby, all the cartoons back in the day were about fighting. Teenage
Yeah.
Mutant Ninja
Mhm. Yeah.
Turtles,
Yeah.
All the
Power
games, too.
Rangers, Dragon Ball Z, all this stuff. So it's like all my role models were fighters. Jackie
Yeah.
Chan's movies were starting to get really popular in the States. Bruce Lee, circling around, Jet Li getting huge. So it was like, I want to learn how to fight. And I ended up being really good at it. And every time I came home, was training more with my father, and just kind of kept on going and going and going. And little I know, by the time I got to college and started to do all these things, it's kind of like what Mike Tyson said about Cus D'Amato. He's like, I never thought I was going to be a champion. Well, all I was doing was just listening to my coach. Little I know, by the time I listened to my coach, by the time I was, ready to go professional, he goes, I had a trunk full of belts, car full of belts. I was like, I didn't know it was the same thing with me. I had 10 amateur championships as as amateur all around the world, with multiple gold medals from different places and colleges as well. So it was just like, oh, no, man, no, I was just listening to my coach. I didn't even know this was still there. It was kind of like, oh, I won a belt. Oh, cool. Listen, oh, cool, I won a belt. So for me, it's I'm just pushing forward and doing my thing.
Right. So funny you mentioned all that fighters and Jackie Chan, and so that was where I want to go next. Who were your who influenced you for fighting? Like, was it, where you have boxing influences? Did you have more MMA influences, or was it just my dad?
Or just wanting to fight in general.
Yeah, I wanted to fight your dad in general, and be a survivor.
That was definitely part of it. But for me, no, man, my dad always made us, and especially for me, he always made me watch fights. Whether it was like HBO After Dark or fights on ESPN or just Comcast Network. Just literally, if we saw two Mexicans on TV, because that was usually the local shows, then we
Oh,
would
I'm 44. Yeah.
yeah, watching two Latinos just go at it and just scrap. And so my dad literally would stop everything I was doing and made me watch it. And even though as a kid you're just like, oh, I don't want to watch it, we would watch it, and then in between for a minute we would just fight. And out of nowhere I'd watch it again. In between for a minute we would fight, and that's how he made it fun. So for me, I always enjoyed boxing more. And my favorite fighter was Manny Pacquiao. I
Wow.
mean,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
you even look at my career and how my upbringing is. Given I'm not nowhere near growing up in the slums like he did, but the way he did the hustle up to come all the way, all the accolades he achieved, all the different weight classes, all the belts, I've been trying my best to slowly imitate that. And even I've started my own foundation in Chicago because of him starting his foundation. It's like he's created that blueprint for me, and I'm taking just his blueprint, but going through my own little path and struggles. But it's nice to have someone who's gone through something way worse and be like, man, that shorty made it. Why can't this shorty make it? So for me, it was that, and then, Dragon Ball Z, Power Rangers. Hell, if you watch Power Rangers, hell, I'm wearing Goku pajamas right now. So
Oh,
if people know anything about Power Rangers back in the '90s, Tommy Oliver was like that legendary Ranger. He ended up being one of my sponsors later on in life when it came
that's
to fighting.
insane.
That's awesome.
So it's like, and a mentor, like it's funny, he sends me voice memos as messages instead of like text messages.
Yeah.
And it's just some characters in life have just that iconic voice, and he was one of those guys. So anytime, dude, he could be talking about food, for some reason it just sounds so epic to me. I was like, oh, this is so dope. Like, he's eating a burger, so it's like, I don't know why I want a Whopper now. So it's just one of those things that these people have been real life heroes, even though they haven't been, Power Rangers isn't real, Dragon Ball Z isn't real. For me, it was real. And even still today, people follow my Instagram. I post pictures of Goku, Gohan, all these different characters, because that's how I feel in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us about like your first organized fight and what that experience was like?
I like how we have to say organized fight. I have done like underground fights, whether they've been just regular me get into altercation, or we used to call them beatdown parties.
Oh
Yep.
wow.
We're gonna have a party and then go downstairs. It was kind of like Fight Club, but we all
Fight
talked
Club,
about Fight
yeah.
Club. You know, it was just like, hey, you want to go against him? You're about the same size. Here's some boxing gloves, 3 3-minute rounds, and go. And just I would make a lot of money doing it.
Wow.
But for me, man, my first organized fight, it was at the gym, and we would do something called Combat Dough challenges. My gym called Combat Dough. And we do these challenges, whether it was people from inside the gym fighting each other or just gyms versus gyms. And there's a kid who was, I think, a year or two younger than me, but at least 30 pounds heavier than me. And I remember just going after him and doing it. And it's funny when I watch that film today, I'm just like, man, I sucked. Just watching how I fight and just anything. It just looks like a little kid street fight. Like
Right.
it's something you see on World Star, and then even tournaments after. I mean, I fought some really, really high level guys and pushed and never gave up. But it was just like, wow, I had no technique whatsoever. So I always find it really, really intriguing. I think that was when I was 16. I mean, I've done
Okay.
karate and tournaments like that, but point fighting is a whole different thing than actual fighting where you can just keep on going
Right.
and no ref is stopping. But the adrenaline is so different. But man, I can tell you, just looking back at it, it's like it really humbles you, because I have a lot of kids who come up to me, whether they're from the gym or different gyms, whatever, that look up to me and they're like, man, I just don't have the skill you have. I'm like, we all start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
some people better than others, but if I were to put up that film, like, it would really humble a lot of people and go, damn, this is how you really fought.
I mean, and that's a normal thing. I mean, you got to start somewhere. You want a prime example, go back and listen to one of our early shows, and you'll know the big difference.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's talk about your upcoming fight. How did this come about?
2 fighters signed a contract, which reminded me I have to sign my contract. But no, it's a crazy thing where when you have a pandemic, there's so many different rules now. Like, I have to get tested for COVID a few days
Yeah.
before I fly. I have to get tested for COVID right when I land. We can't do certain things like we usually do. We can't go out in public as much as we usually do. So it is very, very organized now. Obviously, I think to a better extent because it's for the health and safety of everyone. But it's just a crazy time for me. I was supposed to fight March 28th. The fight didn't happen. Opponent had to be changed. And then they ended up creating this flyweight tournament, which has guys ranked top 30 in the world in this tournament. There's only 8 of us, and all of them at different rankings. I believe we said off air I was 21, which I didn't know. So yay! But I know there was a guy when he got released from UFC, Dustin Ortiz. He was number 3 in the world.
Wow.
So it's one of those things that, like, I'm facing some high level guys, and it's a tournament. So I'm gonna fight Sean Santella September 24th in the Kingdom of Bahrain in the Middle East. If people don't know where it's at, and if I win, everything obviously goes well, then I'll be fighting possibly the winner between Dustin Ortiz, number 3 guy, or an opponent I was supposed to fight last year, Marcelo Durs. So it's a tough battle. Both of them are very, very different. Like, right now I'm fighting a more jiu-jitsu based guy. These 2 fighters next are a kickboxer and a wrestler. It's like, and if I beat those guys, then I got to face whoever wins on the other side of the bracket. And you got this, crazy Dagestani guy who is just going to maul you like Khabib. You have Zach Mikowski as a UFC veteran. You have amateur world champions and just so many more. So it's one of those things, man, that if I'm not on my toes for this tournament, if I'm not 100% mentally there, it's going to be a long, long tournament.
Yes. Speaking of Sean, when fighting an opponent just like Sean, who's more experienced, what is the approach that you take?
I have fun. That's what I do, because it's the reason why I say it is because I've never liked fighting people who have something below me. Like, I don't like being the quote unquote favorite, even though I think I am the favorite for the fight. When it comes to fighting someone more experienced, I know they have something above me. It's something I have to work towards to really prove to myself that I don't care what your number is. I don't care how tall you are, how hard you hit, how good you are at whatever thing. I'm going to beat you at that certain thing. So for him, having almost, I believe, 30 plus fights as an MMA fighter,
Right.
it's an amazing attribute to be like, I'm only 9-1, and you're about close to 10 years. I think he's 8 years older than me. Maybe I'm going to be around your level one of these days, but right now I'm at your level at this point. I might not have the record, but when I get to that possible record, it's going to be that much better, hopefully. So it's a good challenge accepted. So mentally, I go in there having a lot of fun and just being on my toes a lot more than as relaxed as possibly people say I should be.
So do you kind of feel like you lean into like the underground or the underdog role?
I like the underdog role. Again, I always say I'm a shorty from the neighborhood. It's a shorty
Yeah.
coming up. It's shorty from Tupac. Shorty want to be a thug. It's like this little 16-year-old's coming up doing his thing. For me, I've always idolized that to show it because I've never like I wrote a letter to myself when I was in eighth grade in my yearbook, and the way I wrote, spelled, spoke, and how everything came out, you can tell I never expected myself to end up where I'm at today. I never expected myself now to even end up where I am today, doing
Mhm.
interviews, doing commercials, this, that. It's just like, huh, look at that. I'm much farther in life, so I might as well keep on going. So it's been a journey, man, but I like being the underdog. It's a fun experience, and it's easier to climb the mountain than to stay on top.
5 years from now, what are people going to say about Jose Shorty Torres?
Well, 5 years from now, I'm hoping I'm still around. Hopefully COVID is down, and
Yeah.
for me, man, I when it comes to fighting, I don't want to be remembered as not just like the tough fighter. He's done this. I want to be as a person that's helped a lot of people, whether it's inspiring them, motivating them, or trying to get them to do more. I've never been a selfish person. I have my own foundation for a reason. I've always tried to help people for a reason because I've seen a lot of potential in people, especially in our neighborhood. We just don't have the opportunity. For me, I'm one of those people that show that like we do have the opportunity. We just don't take advantage of it. All we do take advantage of is free stuff, and hey, free stuff isn't bad. There's nothing wrong with that, but you got to get up and do some work too. And for me, I finally got up and decided to do some hard work, and look where I'm at today. So I always tell people I wanna be able to show that whether it's my resume, whatever the case may be, that if you try, you're gonna be a lot farther in life than just talking about it.
Totally agree with you. Our last question: how long do you want to continue fighting, and what's in store in the aftermath of your career?
Honestly, I wanna I wanna quit every single day. It's a crazy no man, and that's a truthful statement. This stuff takes a big toll mentally. I've lost relationships, I lost time with my family. My father passed away last year. I could have spent way more time with him. It's crazy how much sacrifice comes into trying to achieve your goals, whether it's fighting, whether it's another goal I want to do later on in life. For me, my ultimate goal is to help people. So I want to do more of my foundation. I want to start looking for grants for that. I want to start paying people full time. I want to eventually own my own gym, especially after COVID's over, and be
Okay.
able to help kids in my neighborhood through my foundation as well. So I want to be a coach. I want to be like a Freddie Roach. I want to be like a Trevor Whitman, a Dean Thomas, all these guys that helped me come up. So it's one of those things that I've always felt like I've been a better coach than a fighter, but I need to go through this process and be able to understand every single circumstance,
Right. Understand
understand
the experience.
what different fighters go through in all these different sports and situations. So for me, I'm just enjoying the road while I still can, and I'm gonna keep on fighting as long as my body allows it, because I know once that's done, it's done. So I'm definitely gonna enjoy the journey as long as I have it in front of me.
So before we let you go, why don't you tell us about your foundation?
Yeah, man, it's the Team Shorty Foundation. Everything's sold on my website, teamshorty.com. 100% of the proceeds go to it, pretty much to help keep kids, teens, and young adults inside the gym and off the streets. And I know
Awesome.
COVID right now isn't helping the gyms. A lot of them are closed. A lot of them outside Cook County are limited to a certain number. For me, man, I've either been paying gym memberships for kids to go. I've been able to help them get out of the state to go to different tournaments, help them go to retreats. Right now, I donated a good amount of money to Youth Crossroads to have these kids go out to Tennessee for a retreat, but they weren't able to go because of COVID. So I'm using that money to help them donate or get donated pretty much a bunch of sports gear, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, stuff to get them back out in positive environments. I mean, sports teaches you a lot of things, and plus it gets you in shape at the same time while having fun, instead of being involved in gangs, drugs, violence, being in the house, being online, playing whatever on your laptop and your phone
Yeah.
and your Xbox, PS4. So I'm trying to get kids as active as possible. And again, it's not just kids, it's also teenagers and adults. I mean, honestly, my foundation, if it weren't for, I look at my brother and father, they had amazing skill potential, easily way more athletically talented than I was. They just never had the opportunity. What if they had a proper mentor, a father figure, or just an environment that would have pushed them to do it? They could have been so much farther in their life. So for me, I want to be
Yeah.
able to do that for people.
Yeah, man. That sounds like a really great way to give back to the community. Knowing what you've gone through to get to where you want to go, and where you came from. I mean, it sounds like you're doing really great work. So appreciate what you're doing
No,
for the community.
keep doing what you're doing. The people that are benefiting from this will be able to thank you in some form or way later on down the line. And even if they don't, as long as you see their progress, as long as you see their happiness, as long as you see that their track in life has gone in a positive direction,
Yeah.
that should be enough. I mean, for me as a teacher, when I do that, I don't need a thank you card. I don't need a gift bag.
You just feel it.
If I see that student is doing well, it just makes me feel warm inside, and I'm not gonna lie about it.
It's a heartwarming thing, man, and it's awesome and amazing to know that you can, even with the smallest little gesture, it can change someone's life.
Yeah, man. All right. This has been Jose Shorty Torres. He's going to be fighting September 24 against Sean Santella. Thanks so much, Shorty.
I appreciate it, guys. And if people want to watch Fight TV at FightTE.tv.
Excellent.
Awesome. We'll have this all over our social media to give you the information on his fight.
All right, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks
Take
a lot.
care.
No problem.
The True Chicago Sports Fans podcast with E-Roc and Big Z will return after a brief word from our sponsor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So, I know you want to do it. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Welcome back, everyone, to the True Chicago Sports Fans podcast with E-Roc and Big Z. It is time for the main event. This is Stirring the Pot.
All right, brother. What we got this week?
We got something good this week.
Oh, boy.
I've had some very in-depth discussions with people this week about this one.
You have a cabinet of people to talk to, like
Absolutely.
the president.
Let me say, this is the one segment where I will sit there and I'll ask the people, the listeners, the fans, give me some topics to talk about.
Okay, what you got?
So this week we have a very controversial topic in Chicago.
Okay.
Ketchup, yes or no?
Hell no.
Okay. Tell me why.
You don't put ketchup on your hot dog?
I'm just saying, I'm not saying on a hot dog. I'm saying in general in life.
No, I don't need ketchup. I really don't.
You don't?
No.
Okay. Let me tell you something.
Oh, boy.
Last week,
Oh, boy.
when we were sitting here talking about White Castle,
Yeah.
and you brought up that White Castle in the morning,
Yeah. I don't need it.
but you put it on your burgers.
I did put it up. I don't need it.
You took your little White Castle, your delicious, fresh, steamed buns, and you put ketchup on them little burgers.
I did.
And I sat there in the background, and I silently judged you.
You silently judged me.
Yeah, that's right. And I watched you drown your little burgers in ketchup.
I did not draw them. I put like 2 or 3 drops.
And that's enough. That's
Nah.
enough to drown it.
No, that's not enough.
Ketchup,
Oh, boy.
Ketchup is for children, bro.
Oh, boy.
I'm calling you out.
Yeah, you did.
I'm calling you out.
That's probably the only time I do it.
You can't sit here and
I
tell
can't,
me.
I can't.
You
No, I
can't
can't.
sit here and tell me hell
Oh,
no.
no.
And then I literally a week ago watched you eat ketchup on a little white delicious.
Oh, man.
Those little delicious, delectable, fresh steamed buns, White Castle burgers. What's wrong with you, bro?
Yeah, but you can't put it on a hot dog. That's my defense, and I'm sticking to it.
I'm gonna tell you what. Ketchup on eggs is disgusting.
Oh,
that's
barf.
awful.
Barf.
If you and that was the argument. That was the argument that led to this question.
Okay.
If you put ketchup on eggs in my house after I cooked you some beautiful, delicious, delicate eggs, I'm gonna kick you out my house,
Okay. You know what? I've seen people put it on rice too. That's disgusting.
bro. What is it? Ketchup is this sweet, sugary mess that like you put on food to trick kids into eating things.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's the only thing. No adults should be eating ketchup.
Mm-hmm.
Even like fries. If you get a properly cooked French fry, all you need is a little bit of salt. It's crispy.
A little bit of salt, maybe some pepper on it, just to give it a little spice.
I mean, like that's the thing is like grown people do not need ketchup.
Grown man.
You're grown man. You don't need ketchup, man. Stop it.
No, you
Stop
don't. I don't. Like I said, I don't need ketchup. Like I did put it on my White Castles. I'm gonna own up to it.
That's
I'm gonna
right.
own up to
I
it.
called you out, bro.
Yeah, it's okay. I'll own up to it. But anything else? No.
So technically, we agree on this topic, which is not very common.
This-
but
yeah, this doesn't
I am
happen
still
much.
calling you
Yeah,
out, bro.
no, it's all good. You called me out. You got me red-handed or red ketchup.
Hey, you want something? You want something great to put on a burger? Put a little bit of A1 sauce.
Yes.
That's fire right
Yes.
there. But ketchup, throw it in the trash.
Man, I threw some wok on my damn burger.
That's different. It's not that, because I'm telling you, my biggest problem with ketchup, like I said, it just overwhelms and it changes the flavor of whatever you're eating.
Because you taste the ketchup over anything.
Yes,
it really does kill the flavor of the meat. Yeah. Essentially, you just taste bread and ketchup.
That's true.
All right. So I don't know. I don't know what to call it. I don't know if we agree or disagree, but we'll let the listeners decide. All right, everybody. That's all the time we have today. Our Bear segment was brought to you by Noir Caesar. Visit noircaesar.com. For more information, go to noircaesar.com. Before we close out, I wanted to extend my positive thoughts and prayers to Washington football coach Ron Chico Rivera. I used to work for a company of his here in Chicago, and every time that I had an interaction, it was very positive with him and his family. I was over at his house multiple times to his golf outings. He's always been such a beautiful person, a beautiful gentleman to me. So, the news of him being sick hits me very personally, and I'm sending my positive thoughts and prayers to him and his family. So during last week, not this week, last week's victory over the Eagles, he had to go into halftime and get an IV treatment done because he was dehydrated, possibly from the treatment that he's taking and the amount of stress he's doing and walking around. So he did that so he can keep coaching. His team responded with a great win. So I just want to say, Ron, we're pulling for you. We love you, and you got this.
Yeah, I mean, you think about Chico, you think about 85 Bears, you think about him being on the coaching staff with Lovey, and all that stuff, and you think about like how connected he is to the Bears. When he took the Panthers to the Super Bowl, like I was definitely rooting for him because they also had Peanut on that team.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He always seemed like a real like genuine guy. So I mean, we don't wish ill will on anybody. We want everyone to be healthy and prosper and things like that. But I mean, I think it especially hits hard when it's someone that you admire.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of that, I also want to give a shout out to Sylvie from the Waddle and Sylvie show on ESPN
That's right.
1000.
Sylvie Strong.
He's been fighting non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a mouthful, but he just recently had his last cancer treatment, and he's an inspiration to us. Like I said, I have his flyer on my wall here, in the studio here. So I just want to give a shout out to him and hope everything's doing well with him, and let you know that we're all Sylvie Strong here at TCSF. All right, y'all, that's it for today. Thanks to our guest, Shorty Torres, for talking to us about his fight tonight. Check out brave.cf.com for more information. Thanks to our Bears analyst, Il Brown. Don't forget to check out his podcast, Beat the Block, which is available on all major platforms. Shout out to Ronesh, our producer, Jay Soto. Shout out to Mike Logic and Ideal from the AllNet podcast. Check them every other Monday, and especially now during the NBA playoffs. Check us out on social media. You can find us at True Shy Fans on Twitter. That's True CHI Fans. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, and reach out to us on our email. We want to hear from you. Give us some good stirring the pot recommendations. Reach us at truechicagosportsfans@gmail.com. And until next time, be good to each other.
For the love of sports.
Yeah.
I'm a man.